Welcome to Booked All Night, the podcast for book lovers and storytellers who just don't sleep. I'm your host, Jessica Mary, and I'm joined weekly by Leigh and Magdalyn Ann as we geek out about books and the craft of writing them. This week, we're discussing chapters 21 through 30 of Alicia Jasinska's This Fatal Kiss. This is your friendly spoiler warning. If you haven't reached chapter 30, then come back later. All right, my little Libranauts, buckle up, settle in, and let's launch back into This Fatal Kiss. Oh, also, we have our first sponsor. Tonight's episode of Booked All Night is brought to you by Wojciech's Tea House. Wojciech's, a soothing soul in every cup.
You had me there for a second.
I was like, how did we get
that's
a sponsor?
Exciting. We have a sponsor. How did I not hear about this? I feel like Jess would have screamed about it before.
So, as Maggie texted me today, we literally turned the page from where we left off last week, and it is confirmed that Alexi and Rosa are demons. I felt very vindicated during that chapter. I was just like, aha!
It was just so funny.
Yeah.
We turned the page, and all of a sudden it's like, yes, this flesh puppet that I'm masquerading as, named Human Alexi.
I do really love that chapter. I really do love the Alexi chapters.
Yeah.
I just like learning about that side of things and how there's the human inside and the demon inside, and they're like battling it out. I love it. I love it.
I really loved that bit of world building.
I really think that the Alexi chapters are sort of the only ones where we kind of get the full truth, because I feel like both Kajik's and Gisela's are heavily biased, mostly because Gisela doesn't have her memory, and then Kajik because of his
Kajik is racist.
his prejudices, and like his upbringing kind of skew his idea of what's going on. Meanwhile, Alexi is demon slowly turning into human, I think. And he's the only one that kind of has the full picture of what happened the night of Gisela's death.
Yes. That was another, big reveal that we got, that both Rosa and Alexi were there the night that Gisela died. And Rosa's the one that actually tells us, and she's just like, oh, I remember chasing her off the pier, and she just sunk like a stone. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, it's extra sad. There was just so much in here.
I feel like there's got to be more to her death too, because she's canonically from an island nation, or from like an island country, right?
Yes.
It is assumed she would know how to swim, or at the very least stay afloat. So I'm wondering if the sank like a bag of rocks was literal. If she was literally weighed down with rocks or something on the way down.
That's a good point, that she comes from an island, and, if she did sink and didn't know how to swim, that's a really weird thing to come away with when you're an island dweller.
I mean, and even panicked and scared, she's being chased by a demon. I feel like she wouldn't sink so quickly, because that's kind of the impression I got, was Rosa was saying that she just sank so fast. And I don't know if there was some other shenaniganery there, or what.
What now?
Shenaniganery.
Shenanalana ding dong? What? What is happening?
Shenanigans, but shenaniganery.
I definitely agree. There's definitely something more to that. Absolutely, because even if you don't know how to swim, a lot of the times if you're thrown into a body of water, you're going to splash around.
Yeah. Plus, if she's going right off the docks, the water there is not super deep usually.
It depends on how long the dock is, but yeah.
Yeah, right. If she goes right off the dock, she would have had something to at least kind of struggle to and to hold on to. So it's now that I'm dissecting that, I'm like, what really happened? I want to bounce back to Alexi, obviously, because everybody wants to bounce back to Alexi. There is this whole section with Alexi and Kajik where they're walking back, and Alexi stretches and his shirt comes up. And Kajik is like, Oh my god, specifically his quote is, Khajiit tore his gaze away. Focus. Think pure thoughts. Pure thoughts.
Boy is gay panicking. What do you expect?
The panic is real. The awkwardness is palpable. And then there's like a breeze that comes through and Alexi's hair gets, so I'm like, okay, so he's using his BS powers to manipulate the weather around him to make himself more sexy. And in that scene, he also like touches the medallion and he pulls away because it like burns him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like leaning into Khajiit and he's like, hey, why don't you take it off? Jewelry included. Yeah. And like it was the entire time they are having interactions. I'm just like, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger, danger.
Which, I mean, is fair, because, you know, we do find out when Alexi's a BS, he wants to kill Khajiit, because Khajiit almost exorcised him last year.
Yeah. And there's like really good lines about that. And I know that I wrote it down. I'm going to look for it. He'd thought long and hard about how to repay Khajiit for that. He was going to make a puppet of that saintly body, make it do such terrible things that Khajiit would be too ashamed to face his grandmother in the afterlife.
That was rough. That was a hardcore line.
I was like, that line stuck with me for a couple of days because I was like, the anger and hatred in that line was so well done. Like, as a writer, that's going in my special quote book, which is very weird right now. Like, just quotes that I think are really great. And like, I know other people that kind of like collect quotes and they're all beautiful quotes, and mine are just very emotional quotes because as a writer, I really struggle to get emotions out on the page. I think it's very weird to describe them. But like, this line is not describing an emotion. I am having my own emotions about this line. And I think that, you know, like on a craft level, that is so amazing.
Yeah, there are some really great lines in this book in general.
Yeah.
And this book definitely makes you feel a lot of stuff, especially in the later chapters. Especially in the last Alexei chapter that we read. I feel and with Tamara too. You don't really
that was a hard scene.
You don't really you don't get a lot from her in general in this book. Like you meet her and then Gisela just kind of like bye, pieces out, and then we come back to her and it's this whole thing and you don't know her, but just what's happening and what she says and how she acts, it's just like I love you. Don't go.
Yeah. So. I like what you're saying. Like, we don't really see Tamara, but that scene. So the scene is, for those at home listening, Tamara gets revenge on the man that killed her and drowns him, obviously, because that's what they do. And everybody goes to help clean up and hide the body. And Tamara is just kind of sitting off in the corner and she's just like, I did it. He's gone. He's dead. I got him and he can't hurt anybody else now. And I'm not hurting now. And then she very Little Mermaid-esque becomes like air and wisp and bubbles and she just goes because she crosses over. I did want to talk about that because going through other episodes, I was convinced that if they got revenge that they'd become human. But if they get revenge, they cross over.
Yes.
It is this particular night that Gisela also steals the potion from Wojciech to turn human. She was at first like, I don't know that I'll take this. I don't know that I'm there yet. And then after seeing that and seeing her cross over and realizing like it's this or crossing over, those are my options if I don't want to be Rusalka anymore. And she just downs the potion.
I just had a thought when you mentioned because how we had previously thought that, you know, by killing the one who hurt them, who caused their unnatural death, we thought that they were going to turn human. But now I'm thinking of a scenario when Gisela finds out the truth about her death, and she finds out that Rosa's the one that kind of pushed her into the water, chased her into the water, right?
Yeah.
Or is the reason for her death, and she takes her revenge. She kills Rosa, or at the very least, the BS who's puppeteering the human Rosa, and she loses out on her chance to become human because of that.
Yeah. I am at this point like the stakes have really gotten very high in just these 10 chapters. so many things are so close now. Alexei is like really aggressively moving in to get revenge on Khajiit. Gisela made herself human for a moment, and that's another big thing. She's definitely on a clock now. She's got a day? She's got 24 hours to get her kiss, or else she's they don't move on after that potion, right? She just becomes like a ghostly wisp thing. Like she's barely an entity or a being at that point, is the way that they've described it. And so I am wondering, like, is she going to get this kiss from Alexei? What happens if it is a demon that kisses her? What happens? Like, is she going? I still say Khajiit's going to be the kiss, because we had that little fairy tale in the beginning of the monk, and
we also had the almost kiss after she took the potion and she went to visit Khajiit, and he finds out, that she's human now, and like the entire time he's just sitting there in awe, like, I never thought a miracle like this could happen. And they get very close, and he's got his hand on her wrist to feel her pulse, and they're just leaning in, and then they're cock blocked by Alexei.
Yeah, there's so much intimacy that happens in these chapters, actually, that I do want to point out and lead up to that kiss, because I was in the middle. I always read before I go to bed, and I was like, "Oh, Lexi, you son of a bitch." Last week we were talking about how, we really didn't have a lot of Alexei's point of view. And so when we were thinking about how this polycule would form, we were like, I don't know that Alexei fits into it. Plus, we were all very suspicious, and now we're confirmed that he is a bloodthirsty killer. So we're like extra cautious. But there is the scene where Khajiit is touching Alexei's wrist because Alexei has a cut. He's got a cut on the hand. And it is very tender. It's very intimate. And they're just kind of like this moment of calm. And Alexei looks at him and says, "Oh, you're not going to kiss it and make it better." And Khajiit didn't trust himself to answer. And I'm like, yeah, because you're gay and the panic is real.
Well, he is confirmed to be bi later. He does confirm bi, or at the very least pan.
Yes. Yeah, that is also something I want to talk about later. But then there is this little moment in the woods where they find I'm going to butcher the name of this, the Latavich, which is the bird with a human face. Latavich, thank you. I did not even close for me.
Yeah, the C makes like a sound.
There is this creepy little bird with a human face, and there is a moment because Khajiit is like, "Oh, I should exercise it," but of course he can't draw on his powers. So we're constantly reminded that we don't even know why his powers are gone. And Alexei is very tender with the
Lataviets.
I'm just gonna make you say all the words and then poorly edit them into the
just
podcast.
ADR me over you, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fine. And it is a very tender moment, and then Gisela comes over, and she's like, "Oh, it's so creepy." And Alexei tries to get her to kiss it. He's like, come kiss its creepy human face, and he chases her around with it. And I think that was really the first moment where I did see this triangle as something connected. And I was very happy for it. And then like I turned the page and I'm like, oh right, he wants to kill them. And it was ruined.
Something that we learned in one of the Alexei chapters is that the human can wake up that's possessed by the BS, because Rosa wakes up as human Rosa at one point, and she's like, "I don't know how I got here. Why was I in your room? What's going on? I should go home." And Alexei's like, "No, don't you trust me? Stay." And then it takes like a minute, and then she has like a seizure, and it's like, "Oh yes, I am the BS Rosa, not the human Rosa." Yeah. And that's making me think, like, if demon Alexei gets exorcised, right, and human Alexei remains, he's not going to have memory of what happened between the three of them, or anything leading up to that, I don't think. And that, I think, will be pretty tragic, especially if they do, like, polycule, or is demon Alexei going to be like, "No, I feel pretty comfortable in this body. I'm gonna be human Alexei now and maintain the puppetry."
Well, that was something else that got pointed out. Yeah, that was something else that got pointed out, that if they stay in the body for too long, they start to become human. And what it sounds like is these BS have been in these bodies for at least a year. That's a
Mhm.
very long time, it sounds
Yes.
like, to have possessed them. And human Alexei, as demon Alexei refers to him, he says human Alexei's emotions and memories are starting to come through.
Yes.
And so he's starting to have those reactions as human Alexei. So I wonder if this moment where he is having a tender moment is half this, this BS who is like, oh, the demons just want to be left the hell alone. And human Alexei who is actually just very nice. And so it kind of blended into this moment.
Right, because it does point out that demon Alexei, like, looks on human Alexei's mother, like, very lovingly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's come to, like, really adore human Alexei's
Mhm.
mother.
Yes.
So, like, you kind of see that emotion, that human emotion kind of, like, not, like, come through, but we see, like, glimpses of it.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what other human emotions he might have had before that, which again is why I really enjoy these chapters, because you see a lot from the demon's
Mhm.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it also made me question, if Gisela does kiss Alexei with the demon in him, because there's still a human, does that still count as a human
That's
kiss?
a good point.
Ooh. Yeah, is it enough to kiss the meat suit?
Right, because it's not technically, Alexei isn't dead. There's still human
So
Alexei.
my theory about the Rusauka kissing a human to become human again is that the legend has been mistold, or at the very least lost in translation as it's been handed down, right? I think
Oh yeah,
it's
obviously.
I don't know, I don't think it's actually supposed to be the kiss. It's supposed to be the bond between the person you're kissing and you. So I feel like even if she ends up having actual emotions and actual connections with Alexei, maybe, or with Khajiit, maybe she's got to kiss both to really kind of settle that bond and complete the legend, the folktale of them coming back.
And that makes me question, which one is the fated mate?
Just want to go on record that fated mate is my least favorite trope in the history of ever, but that's not what we're talking about here. And
It depends. It depends for me. It either pisses me off or it's really cute. It depends on how it's done.
That reminds me of another thing that we were confirmed actually in the early chapters, is that Wojciech and Babcia were a thing. It's confirmed that they were in love.
yes,
Ah,
yes,
Well, he loved her.
yes.
So that's confirmed that he loved her.
That actually happens like right before that kiss the not quite kiss, the almost kiss, as they lean in, just kind of hover around each other for an agonizing moment. But they start talking about Babcia's walking stick and how Babcia and Wojciech came to meet each other. And here in Wojciech's collection of teacups, he had the soul of Babcia's best friend. And she just went down there and demanded it back.
that was such a badass image. I loved it.
She's just walking like, give it back. This little old lady. And I just thought of my grandma, like, hunched over and using her cane and just yelling at people, like, get out of my lake,
That's a very mama.
Give me my souls back. Yeah, it is very mama. And it was so funny because you could see that both of them have a connection to Babcia, and obviously Gisela has a connection to Wojciech in like this kind of grandfather role. And they're just like imagining this event happening and just laughing at it because it is wholesome, after the fact. And then obviously Wojciech and Babcia had their relationship.
That's just solidifying your Khajiit is maybe Wojciech's spawn theory, isn't it?
It is. I'm just like, first off, we don't know why Khajiit's powers are not working. That is something that's, we're what, 30, we're gonna do 31 to 40 next week, so yeah, we're 30 chapters in, and we still don't know why his powers are gone. He also hasn't really tried to draw on them much since they were in the house, but he does note that, like, that righteousness is what he calls it, that righteousness is not there within him. And so I'm wondering, like, is it gone because you're part demon, twice removed? Like, I don't know, because we're just not there yet. But there is this moment between Gisela and Khajiit, and they lean in, and he's like eyeing her lips,
And she's eyeing his lips.
Yeah.
And she's like feeling her heartbeat for the first time, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she goes in. So first off, he throws a pitcher of water on her because he's like, "Oh my god, you're dry." And she's like, "Thanks." But what she says to him is like, "Want to feel my pulse? I have one." And then this almost kiss is his.
That's so sexy.
Right? I'm wet and I have a pulse.
That's like,
sometimes that's all a guy needs.
yeah, I was just gonna say that's like the easiest pickup line at a bar.
Brother, put that on a t-shirt. No, don't put that on a t-shirt. Put that on a coffee mug, so at the very least I don't have to take that out into the public.
I just want you to know I'm gonna get you a travel mug that says I'm wet and I have a pulse. But the almost,
we're talking about YA and teenagers here.
There's sex in YA. Teens have sex. Okay, this quote that happens during this almost kiss is, his gaze dipped to her mouth, and for a single impossible moment, Gisela thought he was going to kiss her. And for a single guilty moment, she wanted him to. And I was like, lean in, do it. And then Alexei comes in and ruins it and just cock blocks the whole thing. And I'm like, you son of a... But there's more humor there, because then Kajik's like, I have to do the laundry. And Alexei's like, it's raining? Like you can't go hang the laundry? It's very, very wet outside.
You don't hang your laundry out in the rain?
No, surprisingly not. I don't hang my laundry at all, but I also just don't do my laundry. My husband does my laundry.
It's crazy because Gisela afterwards realizes that it doesn't matter who she kisses as long as it's human. As long as they're human. They don't have to be in love. She doesn't have to be in love or them love her back or anything. She realizes that she just has to kiss a human.
Right? She does. She has that moment and she like kicks herself. And I was like, yeah, no. I just want to echo something we said last week, which was, not a thought behind those literally dead eyes.
Especially because we also get the confirmation in one of the Alexei chapters that he knows that she's Rusalka.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't know why she's hiding it, but she is Rusalka. And then like every time they have an interaction, there's one in here where she's like, oh, you act like you want to eat him. And he's like, don't you? Because we're both demons here. Like, I know that you are. Do you clearly not know that I am? I don't feel like I'm being subtle. There's a period where he's just, he's on the verge of absolutely just being like, I am a demon, and so are you. We are not fooling anybody.
And Domek keeps getting so close to outing Alexei to them too, every single time, and then he gets like shut up by something or someone.
Well, yeah, because Gisela thinks that Domek's gonna out her, and Alexei thinks that Domek's gonna out him, and Kajik is actually the worst exorcist ever because he doesn't realize that Alexei is a demon. Poor Domek is like having an aneurysm in his confusion because he's like, I know what you are and what you are and what you are, and I don't know why you are all mixing together.
I know that you're gay and you're gay and you're gay.
Yeah, basically.
And then when Zuzana comes over and she feeds him a not quite pickle, because we're still pickling cucumbers, and Kajik's like, but he's a demon, I was supposed to exorcise him. She's like, it's a house demon. We had one for a while, and then you drove him away because you didn't feed him.
But first she points out that it's a house spirit. It's a house demon. And she comes in, she's like, that's not a cat. He's like, no.
He's like, I forgot I had 3 demons in this house.
Right? I mean 2.5, because he doesn't really know that Alexei is possessed. Yeah. But
Yeah, that's true.
Then she comes back and she feeds him. It's adorable.
So when Susanna comes in, right, and she's like, well, yeah, it's a house demon. Like, we know that the Mogniks here, like, they're okay to be here because the wards prevent demons with ill intentions from coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me wonder about Alexei and his intentions and how faithful he is to his original plan of trying to get his revenge on Kajik if the wards let him in.
That actually made me think that the wards were either failing or failed, because we do talk about, since Babsha's death, that a lot of the wards that she'd put up around the bathhouses were starting to weaken.
Yeah, it was also mentioned, I think, in the same chapter by Susanna, I'm pretty sure, that a powerful enough demon could probably just walk over those wards anyway.
Yes.
And I mean, we're basically told that the Bies is a demon that is second only to the king of forest demons.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure Alexi's the prince.
He might be.
Because in his chat, in his chapter with Susanna, or not with Susanna, with Rosa, and he's like, yeah, I'm the prince. Don't forget who you're talking to. When she tries to like rile him up and be like, oh, you're becoming too human. You're becoming infatuated. Are you even a demon anymore? And he basically just chokes her out.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, don't forget your place, essentially, for that entire moment. And then she's giggling because he's choking her out.
Yeah, that
like a masochist.
That scene was nuts. But there's also something else about Alexei's power, because his family owns one of the springs, and the springs all give spirits like a little boost. And there is, I want to say it's Villa Lilia that he owns, but they did mention another Villa Hyacinth, that if a demon went in there, even for a little bit, and just soaked that up, that they would be unstoppable. And so I think between Babsha's wards that are failing, notably around town, and Alexei outright having access to all of the bathhouses, that the demon inside of him is probably very, very powerful, which might be the only reason that he's not completely humanized at this point.
I think, though, that actually, because it's kind of mentioned, like Rosa keeps saying, like, oh, you're gathering your strength before you take on Kajik. Because he was injured during that night, where everything happened all at once, everywhere. He's basically been just like hibernating in human Alexei, and he's getting his strength back so that he can, eventually devour Kajik and take over his body.
I find it funny that in this chapter, Alexei literally tells Rosa, like Rosa says, oh, I think I'm going to become Gisela. I think I'm going to inhabit her. And Alexei goes, no, you don't touch her. You're not going to become her. And gets really protective of Gisela.
But there's also a note there. Yeah, he gets like that, and he notes that that's probably coming from human Alexei, who is like, don't touch my friends. Like, it's bad enough you're in this friend. But get the hell away from everybody.
I also want to point out that at one point, I don't remember who it was. I don't know. I don't remember if it was Rosa or if it was Kajik that Alexei was talking to. But she's not like other girls. Gisela.
There's like this really Darcy-esque line that he has. Kajik is talking to Alexei about Gisela, and he says, so she has no concept of boundaries nor personal space, and she's probably never taken no for an answer in her entire life, but she's not a bad person at heart. And that's not long after she's not like other girls, she was a cold-blooded demon for one thing and way more irritating. Which had a lot of, your family is poor and you're dirty, but I love you energy to it.
One other thing that I also wanted to bring up was during the Tamara scene where she kills the guy who had hurt her and Wojciech steps in. And I was just kind of not shocked, but kind of surprised at how quickly he settled into this, okay, I gotta clean up after one of my girls, like this is all right, I'm gonna hide the body for you type of family relationship there. But he was also so specific about what to do with the body, like wrap it up, stake his heart, make sure he gets the proper rituals before you burn him so that he does cross over to the other side, and like just his attentiveness to making sure that he passes on and doesn't remain behind
Yes.
as a drowner.
I also noted that because there was a lot happening in that moment. One, like Wojciech goes into emergency mode. I think everybody has an emergency mode. I see a lot of memes about it as like, like I'm very introverted, but if my fellow introvert needs something, I suddenly become not introverted and I have the power to do the thing. And
it's I'm the slightly less anxious one, so I'm gonna be the parent here.
Yeah, like I gotta get it done. It's important. But I don't feel like that's the emergency mode that Wojciech has. I feel like this definitely shows that he does care, which is something that Gisela has been questioning. Right? Is she like every time he comes up, everybody cares about you. We're a community here, and she's like, yeah, okay. But in this moment, he really does, because the option to let this guy die and become a drowner is there. If he really cared about just having spirits in his realm, that's what he would do. But this man that Tamara kills is a rapist. He killed her. He's clearly harmful and bad. And he's like, no, this person cannot come back. And you're right. There's so much, and he's very short. And this is one of the quotes that I wrote down too, which is, make sure you perform the proper funerary rites, wrap the body before you burn it, drive a stake through the heart. We want to prevent him from coming back as a drowner. It would only cause more trouble. And like, yeah, that's so important to learn, that they do go through this and that there are funerary rites to make sure that this person does not cross over. This is not a soul that I want in my teacup collection. I don't want him anywhere in my realm. He's got to go. He goodbye. It was also a really great moment of characterization, right? Like, up until now, we were really questioning about whether or not he cared. I think this really shows that he absolutely does care about those that are in his care.
I think we really see that Wojciech really cares, especially for Gisela. Like, there's something there because he gives her this very, what I think is a special comb. It's got like pearls on it, and when Tamara has it, he takes that back, and all of a sudden when she goes back to the palace, when she's back under there, she finds it again. Like, that is specifically a comb for her. It's not just like a generic comb. So there's something, I think, that Wojciech has like special with Gisela. There's something there. Maybe she had like very traumatic, or maybe there's some sort of connection.
I wonder, because now I have a thought, right? Like, he does absolutely give her some special attention and some special leeway with how she breaks the rules. And Rosa had said that she sunk really fast. And we were talking about that earlier this episode, that we were like, why would she sink so fast? There's so many things for her to grab onto. What if Wojciech is the one that pulled her under? And so he's giving her special attention because he's like, I technically rescued you because they might have done something worse to you than this.
He took her, he saved her because he saw that her dad made her basically take care of her younger brother. She didn't have a normal teenage life. She didn't have a normal life. She was basically taking care of her younger brother, Hugo, and basically making her a parent at such a very young age. And I think Wojciech, saw that and kind of felt bad and wanted to give her some sort of teenage life, even though, she's dead. But, just give her some friends, give her some, I guess, teenage happenings.
It was also shown right before the Tamara scene, where she's in Wojciech's room because she wanted to bribe him with a gift to try and forgive her. And she finds the potion that turns her human. And as she's leaving, she runs across another drowner, and the drowner is hostile against her. He's very much like, you're not supposed to be here. You're the golden child. It must be so easy being the favorite. And they get into a literal fight about it until Wojciech kind of comes up and is like, tisk tisk, children, don't fight where I can see you.
Yeah.
Before, another drowner comes by and is like, oh, Tamara drowned a man. And they rush off, right?
Yeah.
But I wanna ask about what your predictions are for the next couple of chapters, like what we might see next week.
I if it's anything like this last time, I feel like we're gonna predict things and we're gonna sit down tonight and read 5 sentences and be like, aha, I was right.
And then something else hits the wall and it's completely insane.
Yeah, my prediction for this upcoming chapter, they're getting ready for the St. John's Eve festival where they're planning on using Gazella's water powers to manipulate the little wreath to show up next to Alexi so she can be like, oh, you can kiss me. And I foresee getting that kiss, but kind of having this like, oh, Gisela, if only somebody loved you kind of moment. And, it turns out that she won't become human.
Yeah, I kind of in the same boat. I think that at some point during St. John's Eve, they're gonna, I don't know, they're dancing or something, the two of them, right? And Alexi ends up just having a straight up conversation about demons. It's like, oh yeah, so yes, and this, and I'm a demon, and she's just like, huh? What? And is completely like thrown off by the revelation that Alexi is not human at that point. And then that's going to lead into the like most intense moment because it'll be real close to the end of her time limit.
I think Alexi's also going to realize that she's close to the end of the time limit, and so he's going to like kidnap her or something, because when he's walking her home toward the end of this particular section, Gisela, as smart as she is, lets loose that Khajiit's powers aren't working.
Yes.
Mhm.
And she lets that noise go to the one person that wants to kill him the most. And so I feel like at St. John's Eve, we're going to see a lot go down. We're going to see a lot of reveals. We're going to, it's also one of the things to deal with a saint. So I wonder if, Khajiit's going to sit down and do some of this ritual that he's going to partake in and maybe get some of his powers back. I don't know.
Because Alexi, in the chapter immediately after that, he learns about Khajiit's weakness. He's hesitant about it. He's like, "This, I should be celebrating. I finally have a weak point to drive into," but he's hesitating on whether or not he should take that. And it's like he doesn't know if that's the human Alexi or him.
Yeah.
At that point, him getting attached, and that kind of leads me to think that maybe that's how that kind of leads to the polycule. Like he's becoming more human, he's becoming more in touch with the emotions, he's hesitating on completing his revenge, and maybe at some point that's how he's gonna earn that redemption from demon seeking revenge to just a guy who really likes these two people.
I wonder if that merger that is already happening between human and demon Alexi will just kind of go further, and so that personality is just going to meld together and he'll end up being part of both, that they've been together for so long and so they can no longer be separated, sort of thing. There's also the point, like as you were pointing out, that he starts to kind of weaken away from wanting to kill him. There's the moment a little after he chokes Rosa out, which is, and maybe these days he didn't always daydream about killing Khajiit, but he still wanted to punch that self-righteous look off his face when he talked about spirit. There's also that conversation between Khajiit and Alexi where he's like, well, if only exorcists would leave the spirits alone, and Khajiit's like, well, if only the spirits would leave us alone. And it's very like all spirit lives matter kind of thing.
There was also a lot of talk about Khajiit becoming too rigid and following his grandma's, Babcha's sort of point of view, especially after she passed away. Because Zuzana's like, you didn't used to be like this. You used to feed the domovnik. You used to do this with their grandpa. And there's sort of like this dichotomy of beliefs between Babcha and Jadek, where Babcha's like, no, we got to exorcise the demons. We got to follow like our faith and the saints and all that. And Jadek, he's just like, yeah, no, we're gonna go to here and we're gonna leave some offerings for the spirits, and we're gonna have a house demon who keeps the place tidy, and we're gonna make sure that he's fed and wanted here. It's the split that Khajiit's kind of coming up to, like, whether or not he's going to remain with his sort of black and white rigid view, or if he's going to, kind of come to the realization and like the understanding that, they're not every demon is pure evil. Some of them are just, poor haunted dead girls or little house spirits without a home. And Susanna even like specifies like, what does it matter if they're not human? If someone needs help, we help them. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's going to come up like he's going to have his quote unquote come to Jesus, come to demon moment in the upcoming chapters. Like, 'cause I feel like that is the reason he doesn't have his powers, is one, the shattering of his faith, but also like the changing of his viewpoint, especially the hard left it took after Bapcha's death.
Yeah. So Bapcha, obviously was like, there's no real gray area, but there are some stories about her just kind of coming up and whacking spirits on the head with her walking stick. And she's just like, get out of here. She wasn't like walking up and exercising everybody. And she was just like, and a bonk for you and a bonk for you. And
I love the moment where Kashyyyk is like, well, Bapcha, always told us we gotta exorcise the demons. And then Susanna goes, well, Bapcha also said to carry chestnuts in your pocket to protect you from the evil radio waves. Those newfangled radio waves. Just... It very much feels like one of those, like, just like I don't know, like one of those moments where you're kind of starting to realize that maybe this person doesn't know everything, and maybe this one way of thinking is not the way.
Yes.
So basically, I believe that his failing power comes from, I mean, it's just like, it's talked about in the book where it could be faith, or it could be belief, or it could be he did something wrong. But I think it's something to do with him and his faith. And when you start taking someone else's view of faith and saying like, oh, I have to follow, my faith the way they did, that you're not believing in that. You're not believing that that is something you truly want to do. So I believe that his powers are diminishing because he needs to find his own faith. He needs to, I don't know, maybe take a little bit of what Bapcha believes in, or how she acted, or how she practiced her faith, and then look at his grandfather's way of practicing his faith and what he believed, and take that, and then maybe have his own experiences that kind of shapes what he believes. And when he finally finds what he believes, what his faith is, and is, has his conviction, and fully believes in it, that's when he's going to get his full power back.
Yeah. I think they all do. Gisela kind of has to find that about herself, I think, where Kashyyyk and Alexei have to find that about the world and have to this middle ground and this cooperative place, as opposed to Gisela's kind of like, everybody is sacrificable. And Alexei similarly is like, it's okay if somebody dies if I get my way, or at least like the demon Alexei is that way, and so he's struggling with that with the human guy. And then there's Kashyyyk, who is just like, I hate everybody. Also, so in the first couple of chapters, there is the church, and that just kind of like disappeared.
We get like a few mentions from Susanna, or from Kashyyyk specifically, because he's telling Susanna about like, yeah, I'm hanging out with this girl, and she's like, girl, and like they remember that when he came out to her essentially saying, I like boys too, she was like, don't tell grandma, don't tell anyone, because she was afraid of them kicking him out. And the church kind of gets mentioned there too. Like they have some specific views about sexuality and people like him and the such. But yeah, we don't get much else from the church. We don't, like, there was a priest that popped up for like a scene and a half.
Yeah.
10 chapters ago. And we didn't see anything about that. I wonder if he's going to play a bigger part in the next set of chapters. He's probably going to come up to St. John's Eve and be like, I banish the demons, and outs Alexei and everyone. And I don't know, Westboro Baptist Church's his way through the festival.
Yeah, that's actually, I do wonder that. That's a wrap on this episode of Booked All Night. Make sure to subscribe to the show, leave a review, and share your favorite episodes. We're a small corner of the internet, and every little bit helps. Don't forget to join our Discord community where book lovers like you can come together to discover your next favorite read. As a member, you'll get exclusive access to attend live author interviews and even join in on the fun with Jackbox games alongside our guests. Plus, we'll be hosting a special giveaway when our server reaches 100 members, so invite your friends and fellow readers to help us reach our goal. Booked All Night is produced by Rob Cook, so whenever you share an episode or tag us on social, be sure to say hi to our guy in the sound booth. Join us next week for chapters 31 through 40 of Alicia Jasinska's This Fatal Kiss. Until next time, my little Libranauts, this is Jessica Mary, Leigh, and Magdalyn Ann signing off and reminding you all to stay booked all night.